video is brought to you by Squarespace. It's time for studios to admit that Xbox is onto something good. What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, and today we're going to be discussing the latest drama going on in the world of Xbox, and it is once again involving perhaps the world's most controversial gaming console ever, the Xbox Series S. Now, Ray, hold up. Haven't you already made this video before? Well, yeah, sort of. The Series S is under fire this week, and by extension, Xbox, but this is far from the only time that this has happened. When the next-gen patch for Cyberpunk came around, and you couldn't get 60 FPS on the Series S, people called it trash, people called it a potato. For some reason, when Gotham Knights came out and they were like, yeah, no 60 FPS on consoles, people blamed the Series S, even though people with the beefiest PCs in the world couldn't get 60 frames out of that game. When both Starfield and Redfall came out with no performance mode on console, once again, the Series S was to blame, and people were left wondering, oh, what would Starfield look like if they didn't have to develop a Series S version? And of course, when Baldur's Gate 3 had to delay the Xbox version of their game, the Series S was squarely to blame. But it's not all bad. Larian Studios, when they were making the Series S version of Baldur's Gate 3, they were like, holy crap, we found this new way to optimize things that we can use for all versions of the game, not just the Series S. Truth is, there is no shortage of people over the past 4 years who have been critical of the Series S and accusing it of holding back gaming, with some people even going as far to say that it's an albatross hanging around the neck of developers and that they wish Microsoft would drop the required support of the Series S. Well, now the conversation has started all over again because Warhorse Studios, the team behind Kingdom Come Deliverance, said that the scope of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 was limited because of the Series S. During the ongoing Game Access event in the Czech Republic, the game's producer said that the Series S technical limitations, namely the 10 gigabytes of RAM, have impacted Kingdom Come Deliverance 2's scope. He said because the Series S only has 25% more RAM than the Xbox One, they can only make the game 25% bigger. He went on to say that both the Series X and the PlayStation 5 versions of the game will run at 4K 30 FPS. There's no word on whether that's a native 4K or it's upscaled in some way. I guess you can go ahead and blame that on the Series S too. And now, first of all, I am amazed that so many people suddenly care about Kingdom Come Deliverance. I am a huge fan of medieval games. You can see my Witcher swords hanging in the background. I play freaking hours and hours and hours of Chivalry 2, the most random multiplayer game to be addicted to. I've been playing through Elden Ring. I love medieval fantasy RPGs, which is exactly what Kingdom Come Deliverance was. But when that first game came out in 2017, 2018 at this point, I was so excited, but when it launched, all my favorite YouTubers were like, this game has a bunch of bugs and it's just boring, it's a mid, I wouldn't recommend buying it. So I was like, Now, when these types of headlines come out and they're bashing the Series S, there are usually two camps of people that emerge from this. One camp that blames the developers, calls them lazy, trying to tell them how to do their jobs. And then another camp that blames Xbox for putting out this terrible, horribly underpowered machine and ruining gaming. The people that claim that the Series S is holding gaming back, that they looted their village, that they raised their crops and sowed them with salt. And I'm going to throw in a bonus group of people that emerges through all of this. People who blame the customer. There seems to be a weird trend going on in games journalism where they will blame the Xbox customer base. Oh, developers don't want to ship their game onto Xbox because Game Pass, people just want to play Game Pass, they don't want to buy games. Oh, Xbox players are buying the Series S and now I gotta make a Series S version of the game because Microsoft is making us. And I think that is absolute bullshit. Man, you should never blame the customer. We'll get more into that later in the video. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. If you need a quick, easy way to make a really good-looking website, Squarespace will give you everything you need to do just that. Whether you want to build a website for a new business that you just launched, your personal brand, to raise awareness about your organization, to make a landing page just to buy the domain name, Squarespace has got you covered. Like any good RPG character creation, Squarespace lets you build your own website, or if you're not sure where to start, you can pick from a bunch of pre-generated templates to get started. I really like the block system in Squarespace. All you need to do if you want to add new sections to the website, a new page, you just click the little plus sign, say add block, pick what kind of block you want, contact form, an About Me section, a gallery. It made it super easy and straightforward to import everything that I needed to display. If you want to get to work on your own awesome, unique website, you can go over to squarespace.com to start a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, you can use my code XBOXReady to get 10% off of your first website or domain purchase. Or you can scan this QR code right here. Thanks again to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Now, when it comes to me talking about this stuff, I like to try to take a more evened approach, mostly mostly because I'm not a game developer. I love video games. I have a channel dedicated to Xbox video games. I play a lot of video games all my life. So I don't want to be like these Twitter developers. I don't want to be like a couch developer telling actual developers how to do their jobs. But still, I think this whole situation is kind of weird, and it's something that Xbox fans of the video game industry have to deal with every couple of months. So I thought it was worth talking about. So let's examine some of the things that are going on with the Series S, with Warhorse, with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Warhorse is saying that they had to scale down their ambitions, notably the size of the map, which is a little strange to me because there are games with massive maps that can run not only on the Series S, but other less powerful consoles. Games like Cyberpunk, Elden Ring, you can play on the Series S, which has a huge map. It has a huge map underneath that map, and it also has a huge map above that map in other dimensions in that game, and they're adding the DLC in a couple of weeks, which will be a whole other huge map. In terms of size, Starfield runs perfectly fine on the Series S. It may not have the most content, but in terms of like the amount of planets that are there, it's pretty big. I mean, come on, we live in a world where Hogwarts Legacy can run on a Nintendo Switch, Xbox One consoles, and PS4. But on the other end, I know I have to pump my brakes when it comes to those comparisons, especially with those games, because all of those games that I just mentioned are made by very well-funded, very well-staffed studios. CD Projekt Red has like over 1,000 employees. Avalanche has somewhere like 500. From Software, not as big as those. It's like 350 to 400. Warhorse, I'm not entirely familiar with them, but apparently they have about like 250 people working on the game. So maybe they could make their full ambitions work, but they're just not willing to because of time and money. But then there are some other really confusing things. Just a month and a half ago when they announced Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, IGN did an article about it where they interviewed, I can't remember who, but they were like, oh yeah, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, the second game, it's gonna be huge. It's gonna be double in size. It's gonna be a behemoth of a game. It's going to be the game that we wanted to make last time but couldn't. So what happened between April and now? How did it go from, oh, it's going to be double the size to, it's only going to be 25% bigger? Did they just remember that they have to make a Series S version? Or are they realizing, oh crap, we can't actually deliver on that promise, so let's try to find an easy way out? And as people pointed out, the Series S may have a total memory increase of 25%, but memory that you can use for games specifically, it's more of like a 60% increase. Like, what are they trying to do with this map in the game? They're saying that they don't want to do map streaming. They want to load it in all in one chunk when you get into the game, which that sounds kind of insane to me, especially in a game that is set in medieval times. You have only medieval forms of transport on foot or by horse. Maybe if it was like a sci-fi game where I can teleport around the map or like get in a helicopter and fly across the map, maybe that would make sense. But come on, you could play Microsoft Flight Simulator on the Series S, and that literally has like down to the minute accurate depictions of real life places in the world and regions. We can ask all the questions we want, we can make all the arguments we want, but at the end of the day, they said what they said. They can only make the game 25% bigger because of the Series S. Ultimately, I don't think that's going to be much of an issue. As we have seen in the past, especially with other open world games, it is not always a good thing to have a super big bloated map. I feel like Starfield is a good example of that over on the PlayStation side. I loved Ghost of Tsushima, but when I got to Act 3, I was like, I'm just going to blow through the story and finish that. I'm kind of tired running around and checking off these boxes in the open world system. As much as I like my Series S, this is a recurring issue that keeps popping up in the news cycle. But what do other developers besides Warhorse have to say about the Series S? And to be honest, it's kind of hard to get a straight answer. I think number one, it's very, very clear that developers above all else do not like to make multiple versions of their game. In a perfect world, they would make one version of the game, whether it's PlayStation, Xbox, PC, and call it a day. But as we know, financially, that doesn't always make sense. When Forza Motorsport came out, I got to interview Chris Isaki, Turn 10's creative director. And it was right around the time when everyone was talking about how Baldur's Gate 3 couldn't come to Xbox because of the Series S. And I was like, hey man, like, what do you think about this whole situation, this whole discourse around the Series S? Can you speak a little bit about what it's like to develop such a visually impressive game for not just one Xbox, but two Xboxes and PC?
Yeah.
What's that like?
Very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, not in terms of can we make this work on Series S. That wasn't the challenge, right? The challenge is how good can we make it look?
Right.
Because it's all like we always knew it was going to run fantastically on the Series S, or any platform that we were developing. We actually prototyped a lot of the early physics and AI, and we prototyped on the previous gen Xbox, right? So, because we didn't have a lot of the environments built up yet that took advantage of all the new rendering and all the new power of the new Xboxes. So, to think that the Series S would have held us back in any way is completely incorrect, right?
Okay.
I mean, we're so good at optimizing. We're so good at making sure that whatever we build in terms of rendering, in terms of our physics, that it can run on a variety and range of platforms. Obviously, because of PC, right? We wanted to make sure the lower end of PC could really handle a lot of the stuff that we're doing. We did a ton of optimization to make sure it looked great and played great across everything. So yeah, it's unfortunate we've got caught up in this narrative around the S in some way, but I assure you, like I've spent so much time on the Series S. It plays wonderfully. It looks great, and in no way do I believe that the Series S is a lesser version of Motorsport. I mean, it's my preferred way of playing anyway on between the two, just because I love the console.
But I can't help but wonder, I'm like, is he just saying that because Xbox is his boss? And if he said, yeah, the Series S sucks, he would be in really, really big trouble. SkillUp recently interviewed a bunch of devs about the Xbox platform, and one of them straight up said that developing a game for Xbox isn't really the problem in a world where the targets for optimization are the Steam Deck and Nintendo Switch, which I think is very interesting because no one ever blames the Switch or the Steam Deck for holding back gaming, just the Series S. But I get it, the Series S is not as powerful as a PlayStation 5. It's not as powerful as a Series X. It's not like a true next-gen console, if that makes sense. It's like something in between. It's way more powerful than a One X. Digital Foundry just did a whole comprehensive comparison on that. No matter what the answer is, Xbox, studios, they need to figure it out. Because we're 4 years into this generation and the customers have spoken. People are interested in a low-budget, slightly lower spec console. And that's not just the Series S. No, people continue to buy Switches. People continue to buy the LCD screen Steam Decks. There is a good chunk of people out there that don't care about performance. They don't care about graphics. They don't care about huge, massive maps and games. I mean, look at Spider-Man 2 versus Miles Morales in that first Spider-Man. It's not like they tripled the size of New York City. They were like, no, let's add Brooklyn and some other areas and call it a day. And people were still like, yeah, this is dope. Xbox has had a rough couple of years. They've done a lot of questionable things. But one of the things that they've done right, and I will probably get a lot of flack for this, is releasing the Series S. We live in a world where things are getting so expensive. Not just video games, but everything else. Food, gas, just being alive. In this generation, Xbox came out and they were like, hey, if you don't want to blow a ton of money, but want to play the latest games, here's the Series S. It starts at like $300. I bought mine for $250. And for $250, I am not going to be doing a lot of complaining. And their customers have really responded to it. People are buying more Series S consoles than Series X. And you could say a bunch of stuff about that. Oh, well, there was the console shortage. The Series S was available. The Series X wasn't. But at the end of the day, people are still buying. And so now Xbox is in this position where they got to figure out, hey, how can we get these people the console that they want at the price they want, but also make developers happy? That is the challenge for them. And if you're Xbox, you don't want these headlines to keep popping up every couple of months. It's just not something that you want associated with your brand. So what can they do going forward to change that? Well, we've seen that Xbox, Microsoft, they can be a little bit flexible when it comes to games supporting certain features on the Series S. We've really only seen a compromise from them with Baldur's Gate 3, Larian Studios, when they were like, okay, you don't have to put split screen on the Series S version of your game. Drop it, just get Baldur's Gate 3 on Xbox. For features like that, I think that is a totally fair compromise. Because again, people are buying this thing knowing it's not the most powerful console ever. This is something that studios and platform holders have to pay attention to. Customers are saying that they want more affordable consoles. They want to play their games a certain way, like through Game Pass. And studios, platform holders, executives, they need to stop with this whole thing of like, oh God, I gotta develop a Series S version. I gotta freaking put my game on Game Pass. That's not the customer's problem. They're telling you that they want to play and experience their games a certain way. So the businesses are the ones that should figure that out and cater to that. And while all these things we've been hearing about the new Xboxes coming out are still rumors at this point, the handheld Xbox, the next gen Xbox that is more like a hybrid PC kind of console thing, that could be the perfect solution for this whole mess for Microsoft going forward. They should absolutely continue to have two different Xboxes. One that's a little bit cheaper, not as powerful, maybe a handheld that you can take with you on the go, and then a powerful one. And the most interesting rumors that I hear about the handheld Xbox or the technical next generation leap thing that Sarah Bond keeps talking about is a possibility that they would be running PC versions of the game, emulating them on some sort of Windows ARM situation for the handheld, or even on the standard Xbox next-gen console. Because then you kill two birds with one stone. You still have that more affordable console that fans want, and you're not asking studios, developers to make another version of their game. They just have to focus on the PC version. And ultimately, that's why people don't blame the Steam Deck for holding back gaming, even though some other people are like, yeah, that's our target for optimization. Because no studio is out here making a Steam Deck specific version of their game. It's not happening. They're making the PC version of their game, and then they're saying, hey, Valve, now you get to figure out how you run our game on your hardware. And ultimately, that's exactly what I think Xbox should do. They need to change their approach here. They need to stop saying, hey, if you want to ship on the Xbox platform, you have to have feature parity between the Series X and S. You got to ship on Game Pass. You got to do this, this, and this. Xbox should be the one saying, okay, how can we get your game to work on our platform so our fans can play it? But that's all in the future, right? Xbox, at least for the next couple of years, is going to be obligated to support the Xbox Series S and third-party studios too. I would say at minimum, they have to keep making Series S versions of the game for the next 6 years. And as long as that is happening, this is going to continue to pop up for Xbox. So should they drop the requirement for third-party studios to make a Series S version of their game? Is this going to be a problem for bigger titles coming up in the future, like the next Grand Theft Auto, the next Elder Scrolls, the next Fallout? I don't have the answers, but it's something, once again, that Xbox needs to figure out. Studios need to figure it out, because at the end of the day, people like their Series S, and that's all that matters. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, if you like Xbox, if you like my content, consider subscribing. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.